Some of the greatest lessons in life can be translated over to the world of college football, but probably the most significant is that it's not over until the fat lady sings. Until the ink is dry, the paper is handed in, and it is official, you can be persuaded to go anywhere in the country. And that's the hope for Nebraska and Matt Rhule as they host five-star quarterback Dylan Raiola on a visit. Let's talk about it. If you are new here, welcome on into the channel. My name is Cole Thompson. I'm a radio show host based in Houston, and I talk college football daily. So if this is the type of content you enjoy, plus coaching searches, the transfer portal, national championship news, and a bunch of other nonsense, make sure you smash that subscribe button down below. Continue to tell your friends, your family, Nebraska fans across the country, really everybody about this channel that loves college football. Give me a follow on social media at Mr. Cole Thompson because we're on the race to 1,000, then 5,000, then 10,000, and 100,000. Ladies and gentlemen, you know we're going to get there. So why don't you jump on in while the water's fine? That way, the conversation of college football never stops flowing. So Dylan Raiola was the #1 quarterback recruit for the 2024 class, and it was evident that he was always going to be considering Nebraska for a multitude of reasons, especially after he decommitted from Ohio State. Well, then he goes and he commits to Georgia. And Georgia's a fine school. Nobody's going to argue with you on that. And Georgia absolutely knows how to punch out NFL talent like no one's business. But when there's smoke, there's fire. And there were rumors that were swirling around that potentially Raiola could move off of Georgia and reopen his recruiting assessment because Nebraska was a player. And this was news that was going around on StreamYards and going around on message boards. And now we're hearing from multiple people, including the people that I've spoken to, that Raiola very much is considering Nebraska. This is not just news coming from Buck in Omaha on a message board. This is actual information that is being panned out. So they're going to host him. He's going to visit the school. He knows the school already pretty well because of his family ties. But if he ends up going to Nebraska, it's a slam dunk move by Matt Rhule. This is the move that is what was made when you brought him in. This was why you trusted that a former coach at the collegiate level could get back to his recruiting ways and bring a new demeanor to Lincoln football. And that's kind of the hope right now. And the good news is that, in my opinion, even if Dylan Raiola doesn't get to start year one, that's not going to change the fact that you are going out and adding in the right players. Consider this for a second. Kyle McCord, the former Ohio State quarterback, is visiting your school. Now, that may seem like a far-fetched question, but do me a favor. When was the last time a five-star really was interested in Nebraska? Like, honestly, entered the transfer portal, realized the opportunity that they had, and then said, Nebraska is where I want to be. Nebraska's football history. Anybody that understands the grand scheme of college football knows what Nebraska is all about. It is pageantry. It is page. It is poise. It is everything that you look for. And in that state, they live, eat, and breathe Husker football. So now you're getting 2 5-stars potentially come in. One where Dylan Raiola would learn underneath Kyle McCord. McCord ends up setting the tone, and that gets you closer to where you want to be. A lot of people are probably going to say, well, what happens with Dylan Raiola if he does go to Nebraska? Well, there's 2 main things. Number one, he probably sees an opportunity for him to get more significant reps at an early stage because of the quarterback situation. I mean, be real. There's so many things that lie in life, but one thing that doesn't is production. And if you look at this past year, the passing attack was abysmal at best. 4 teams were worse at throwing the football than Nebraska. Iowa and the academy schools. And you could basically say that this season and most seasons, Iowa is an academy school on offense because they don't understand what a passing formation looks like. But I digress on the situation. Now, you have an opportunity to get a young quarterback in there who sees the potential of what this program could be after watching this team go 5-7 in year one underneath Matt Rhule. So it's already a positive move there. And it's probably not going to be enough reps that you will see from the get-go in Athens. Carson Beck, we don't know his status just yet, but it does feel like now that Brock Vandagriff has left, he's probably coming back for another year. You still have Gunnar Stockton on staff. You still have younger up-and-comers who are going to be fighting for QB1 reps in Athens in 2025, 2026, and you may not have that in Nebraska. The other thing is that there is a certain attentiveness to being a part of a persona. Everyone knows Dylan Raiola's story. Everyone knows that his dad played at Nebraska. Everybody knows that his uncle works on the offensive line. Everyone knows that he is a living, breathing icon in Lincoln before he's ever taken a step on campus. And he could be the reason why we talk about Nebraska being back. You got to realize this is a team that has always strived for grander expectations. And that's why they went out and they made such an impressive hire by getting in Matt Rhule. Matt Rhule didn't have to go to Nebraska. He made enough money in the NFL, but he saw an opportunity to be yet another program builder. just like he did at Temple, just like he did at Baylor. And now you're kind of fast forwarding a few steps to go get a guy like Dylan Raiola to come in. And look at that. You're right back in the hunt of everything. This was a team that was still very close to achieving goals of making bowl eligibility in 2023. I mean, we're talking about 4 games that were decided by 1 possession scores. We're talking about 1 bad start at the beginning of the year against Colorado, and they would have been 6-6 instead of 5-7. They were every step closer than we could have ever imagined playing for a Big Ten West title than they were playing for non-bowl eligibility. That was what Nebraska was. Now you get a quarterback. For the first time since 2016, bowl eligibility is not a goal. It's not a striving achievement. What it is now expectations. And that should be the case for a place like Nebraska, where you have your laurels and your standards set, where everyone understands what the program's persona is. And that's what you're getting if you land in a Dylan Raiola. Here's the other thing that really kind of annoys me. When people say that Dylan Raiola is running from the ability to play at a higher competition. Guys, the Big Ten and the SEC, I get it. There are apples and oranges, but both are still potent fruits that you need as part of your daily diets. They're both promising for college football. Yeah, you're trading out weekends in Tuscaloosa and Baton Rouge and College Station and Knoxville, and instead you're implementing weekend trips to Columbus and State College, in Ann Arbor, and now Eugene, Oregon, and Seattle, Washington, and Los Angeles, California. Don't think for 1 second that those schools coming over from the Pac-12 are going to sit by idly and just be okay being middle tier. They're not. Oregon was a handful of plays away from making the college football playoff. USC is fortifying its defensive lines and its defensive success by adding in right names to lead the charge. D'Anton Lynn, former defensive coordinator at UCLA. Matt Entz, the head coach at North Dakota State, going to be taking over linebackers. Have you seen what it looks like in Fargo, North Dakota on an April afternoon? They hit like no one's business. That's what you're getting. Not to mention, you also have Washington still in the college football playoff, gunning for a national title. You think that they're going to be okay going 8-4 in year 1? No. So the competition is only getting better, and it's even more challenging. Think about this for a second. You are going back to your university. You're going back as a head coach. You were very well respected, loved, praised, garnered. Everyone knew who you were. And then you failed. And then you struggled. And then the team looked god-awful. Scott Frost knows what that's like, because Scott Frost was a hero in Lincoln until he decided to become the head coach. And nobody is going to remember all the positives of what he did back when he was quarterback. Instead, they're going to remember the abysmal decisions made as a head coach. Cliff Kingsbury had to go through this at Texas Tech. You're living up to a family name if you're Dylan Raiola, and you're going to be expected to become the quarterback that eventually brings Nebraska back. I think if you actually look at this through both lenses, it's a tougher task to go to Nebraska because we know what the expectation is at Georgia. We also know that Georgia is a place that can land whoever the hell they want, and they're doing so every offseason, whether that be on the recruiting trail, whether that be in the transfer portal. They get kids, and they tell kids, we don't want you here, and they can pick and choose exactly what they're looking for. So Dylan Raiola would absolutely be able to fight for a starting job, and he'd probably have a clear-cut pathway to winning national championships. But if you do it at Nebraska, you do it at a place that hasn't been to a bowl game since 2016. You do it at a place that is known as college football blue blood royalty that is looking to finally get back to that level. You do it there. You're a hero. And you live up to the family name. And more importantly, you're put on a pedestal that no one can take you off of, because you've earned it. That's why Dylan Raiola, I think, is looking at Nebraska. And according to people that I've spoken to today, there is a very good feeling inside the building that they can convince him Lincoln's the place to be. And that does not change the fact that they could still go out and add in a proven commodity for a year, which might be the biggest blessing of all. Imagine having a 5-star quarterback that comes in through the transfer portal, elite, does everything right for this team, transcends them from a 5-7 roster to an 8-4 or a 9-3 squad, and then he goes to the NFL draft, or he comes back for another year, and at that point, then it's an open competition. And Raiola's sitting, he's learning the offensive schematics, he's picking the brain of McCord, he's picking the brain of Will Howard, whoever is the one that eventually pegs and is committed to the future of Cornhusker football. He learns that, and those skill sets don't dismantle in any capacity. Yeah, I think right now, it would absolutely be a blessing in disguise. You don't want him going out there and ruining his confidence in year one, and you want to know what the foundation and the expectations are going into year 3 of the Matt Rhule era. His second season, a year where he can finally thrive, prosper, and be the exact piece de resistance that's been missing in Lincoln. That's what I look forward to. This is a kid that has everything at his disposal to become a superstar at the next level and be really able to set the tone for what is expected for any program. So he can go to the SEC, he can light it up at Athens, he can go play against against Alabama and LSU and Texas A&M and be a part of something, or he could be the first of a new era of Lincoln football. To me, that sounds a little bit more promising. It's a risk, but it sounds more promising. This is going to be a story to follow for multiple weeks. I can't wait to see what unfolds. It's going to be a race to the finish line for the number 1 pick. But how about this before we get on out of here? Anybody still wondering about Matt Rhule? Anybody still wondering, did we make the right call? You have 2 5-stars visiting the campus this week. 1 point, whether that be on Wednesday, whether that be on Saturday. You have 2 5-star quarterbacks coming in. You have more talent looking at Lincoln as a popular destination, as a promising destination. Did you have that before? I think you got the right guy. Just give Matt Rhule time. He's going to turn it into something very promising. Dylan Raiola going to Nebraska. Don't count it out. Don't make it finalized, but definitely make it a must-see thing on your radar in the coming weeks. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching that video. Don't hit the X button yet. Make sure you hit subscribe to keep up with all of our daily content found on Just Saying It and anything else that we post on this channel. Bye.